Hey, welcome back to So Can You. Today I am going to be making a doll-sized swing dress. And if you follow along with this step-by-step tutorial, so can you. Hey you guys, so today I'm going to be making this swing dress. It is the new, it's an updated version of the hazel top tunic dress from Samantha Marie Design. So I'm going to be making the tank version of this dress today. The fabric that I'm using is a French terry from Million Dot. And I will go ahead and link both the pattern and the fabric in the description of this video. So for this dress, this is the doll size dress. I'm doing the 15-inch dress for the mini Lynn dolls, and you saw the picture of that in the intro. So what I'm going to be doing is the basic version, just the tank. So I'll need the back piece and the front piece. And you'll see that the front piece, it is a high-low. And make sure you cut, because I'm doing the tank, make sure you cut on that dotted line here. And then we have our front piece and our back piece. And then what we'll need is one neckband piece and two armband pieces. And these are small, you guys. So they're small, all right? Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna move these pieces out of the way, and let's talk about how small this is, okay? It's tiny. My hand's next to it, it's small, right? Okay, so there's no wrong way to put together a doll-sized anything. If you feel comfortable putting your neckband on or your armbands on in the round, go for it, do it. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can always leave it open and sew them on. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you two different ways. The first way is with our neckband. I'm gonna put our neckband on in the round, and then I'm gonna put our armbands on flat to show you the two different options that you have. Just really depends on how comfortable you feel with putting together a garment of this size, and if you feel like you can put it on in the round. Anytime you put something on in the round, it's gonna look a little bit more finished and polished because you're not gonna have that seam that's sticking out, but we can always tack that seam down. There's ways to make it look polished still if you put it on flat. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna sew close these two shoulder seams here and here. And I am going to prepare my neckband. So I've got my two armbands here, okay? And I'm gonna leave those alone for now, but I am gonna prepare my neckband to be sewn. So I'm gonna fold it in half. Look how small that is, teeny tiny, right? Fold it in half. And then I'm going to fold it in half again. That's how small the neckband is, okay? Small. Okay, so I'm gonna sew down these 4 raw edges on the side here, and I'm gonna sew closed the top of the shoulder seams. So these 2 raw edges here are what I'm sewing together, here and here. And then these 4 raw edges here I'll sew straight down here. Okay, so I've sewn together the top shoulder seams and our neckband here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and quarter this. I'm going to just make a little snip right on the edge of this band to mark the midway point. Look, see how it's so small. That's tiny. Okay, and then I'm also going to mark the neckline as well. So I'm gonna fold these two seams in half, or match these up and then fold it back. So this is gonna be the midway point of the back side here. I'm gonna make a little snip. And matching these points again. Just gonna fold to the front. There we go. All right. Matching those up, we're just finding the middle, the midway point of the front and the back of our garment. Now I'm gonna clip this band to our neck hole. Okay, now we'll just want to clip on our neckband to the neck opening. We're just matching up our quartered points of both the back quartered points and our front quartered points, and attaching those with clips, and we're just preparing ourselves to sew this neckband all the way around the neck opening. We will sew this on in the round, so we will sew it on and come all the way back around and sew back over the spot where we very first started. Okay, so once you have sewn on your band to your neck hole, again, I mean, it's tiny, you guys. Once you've done that, you will potentially want to top stitch. That is usually where I go next. With a pattern this small, especially right here, if you do top stitch this down, you're not going to leave yourself much seam allowance to sew on your armbands. So I'm going to leave this for now, and I'm not going to top stitch it. Okay, so I'm going to break my cardinal rule here. So I'm going to lay this out now like this, and I'm going to show you the other method for attaching our bands. So I attached the neck band in the round, and what I'm going to do is attach the two arm bands. I'm going to attach those flat, and then sew down the sides. So leaving this open, I am going to mark the midway point on each of the bands. And that midway point is going to be the top of our armhole here. And I'm gonna just clip this down and then clip it all the way around. Okay, so here we have our armbands sewn down on flat. And the next thing that we'll do is sew down our side seams. So we'll want to flip this right sides out, or sorry, right sides together. And with our armbands, with our seam allowance facing towards the garment, not towards the band. So this would be facing towards the band. We want our seam allowance facing towards the garment, laying down flat. We'll just line this up here. See, we'll be sewing two raw edges together. We will make this look nice with our sewing machine, but it is far easier to do like this than sewing these small bands on in the round. Now this one, It isn't that teeny tiny, but if you definitely are a beginner, like I probably could have sewn this one on and been okay. But if you are a brand new beginner, I would definitely recommend sewing it on flat. That one little extra step of tacking this down with your sewing machine might mean the difference of you having a piece that works and a piece that doesn't, you know? Okay. We'll do the same thing over here. And once we have both sides clipped, we're gonna lay this out and you're just gonna sew down these sides, making sure that those seam allowances are pressed down. We're gonna sew down here and here. Okay, so I have sewn down both of these sides and I do have these tails here. What I'm gonna do is secure these. I'm gonna pull these right into this seam. Okay, so now that we've secured both of these seams, here's the last step that I like to do. Okay, it's not perfect here, right? But what we need to do is we just need to flip this seam allowance over one side or the other. Just pick which side looks better. Okay, I'm gonna probably pick this side. And I'm just gonna do a little top stitch on my sewing machine right here. Okay, so it's going to stitch this seam allowance down just right here. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Just stitch that right down. Okay, so once you have stitched this down, here is what it's going to look like. It's gonna lay a lot nicer and flatter. Now, I did leave this tail here to show you guys something. And I get this question a lot when I suggest that you top stitch this area. I get, oh, but my machine will eat my fabric. Well, what I do is, this is where I started, okay? So I started right here. That's where I started my needle, and I actually back stitched. So I let my machine do one or two little motions forward, and then I back stitched and then let it go forward again. So I kind of reversed that so that it didn't give my machine the opportunity to eat my fabric, if that makes sense. So here is our pretty much finished project here. All we have to do is hem the bottom. I'm going to use my cover stitch. If you want to leave it raw or do a lettuce edge, whatever works for you is great. I'm going to use my cover stitch and then I'll be right back and show you what it looks like on the doll. So here's we're almost finished project. All we will have to do here is put a hem on the bottom. If you want to leave it raw, that's totally up to you. or put a lettuce edge or just a rolled hem would look nice. I'm gonna hem mine on my cover stitch. I'll be right back and then I'll show you what it looks like on the doll. Okay, here she is, our finished product. Our beautiful hazel doll dress on, this is Maggie. This is my daughter Quinn's baby. And I do want to point one thing out because this is a high-low pattern. I've gotten some questions before on hemming, and here's what I want to point out to you guys. Let me zoom in on this. When you are hemming anything that is either curved hem or high-low, you can see where I overlap with my cover stitch right here. No, I'm not perfect, but it's pretty dang close. When you're hemming anything that is high-low or a curved hem, what you're going to do is you don't need to worry about the seam allowances lining up. And I figured this out from a shirt of mine, looking at a shirt of mine that was like factory done. I think it's from Old Navy, and I actually have it on right now. It is a high-low. And I was having so much trouble doing these that I flipped this over and looked at it, and there we go. I noticed that their hems, their seam allowances didn't line up. And once I realized that you don't need to focus so much on lining up the seam allowance as you do keeping your hem allowance the same, that's when I kind of turned the corner on. See, this side looks much nicer. That's when I turned the corner on my hemming of my high-lows or my curved hem, noting that this and this don't exactly have to line up. It's making sure that your hem allowance stays the same, not your seam allowance lining up. So there's that extra tip. Hope y'all had fun with that. I had a great time today making this hazel doll pattern. This is a 15-inch mini Lynn doll, and if you followed along with this step-by-step tutorial, so can you.